Pluribus Unum's Fireside Chats. Not as good as yours, but hey, it's something. Now, as you can tell, we're currently doing another visual episode. But as you can tell, we're not going to be doing another, quiz episode. We're instead going to be doing something a little bit different. Well, something that I've done before, and something I'm probably going to continue to do. So, we're just going to get right into the news. First, we're going to be talking about something very interesting that we haven't talked about in a while. Myanmar. Myanmar, the military executes 4 democracy activists, including ex-MP. The 4, including activists Ko Jimmy and lawmaker Pho Zia Thaw, were accused of committing terror acts. They were sentenced to death in a closed-door trial that rights groups criticize as being unjust. Pro-democracy leader Aung San Suu Kyi was very sad after hearing the news, a source told BBC's Burmese service. Ms. Suu Kyi, the leader of the National League for Democracy Party, did not make any comments. The source added she was arrested in February 2021 following an army-led coup. And this is interesting because this is the first capital punishment that has been done since Myanmar became a democracy, quote unquote. They've since not been democracy no more. But this is very sad given the situation. Although interestingly, it appears that Myanmar will be holding elections in 2023. I can't say that they will be fair. In fact, very likely they will not be fair. But we're going to have to wait and see how things plan out. Speaking of things we have to wait and see how they plan out, an interesting thing has happened. This is very interesting. Chinese invasion of Taiwan may come sooner than expected. Chinese President Xi Jinping warned President Biden to not play with fire over Taiwan on Thursday, according to a Chinese readout of a call between the two leaders. The contentious exchange comes with Beijing threatening serious consequences if House Speaker Nancy Pelosi follows through on a planned visit of the self-governing island. Pelosi's plan and the bellicose response from Beijing have renewed speculation that Taiwan could become a military flashpoint sooner rather than later. The Pentagon has briefed Pelosi about its security concerns around the trip, and Biden has said publicly that the U.S. military thinks it's not a good idea right now. While all that was happening, the Taiwanese military was conducting a 5-day exercise to stimulate a Chinese invasion, part of the regular schedule of defense drills conducted each year. Now, here's the thing. There's also some more stories that have been floated. You see, one story talks about how Republicans are already flowing a bill to send military weapons to Taiwan, and another one of the Taiwanese, of a Chinese organization telling its people prepare for war. And it's very, very... You see, here's the thing. Originally, I would have just chalked this up as the West is fear-mongering over, China, blah, blah. But given what happened in Ukraine, I don't think we can necessarily rule this out, to be honest. It's quite the endeavor. And if it happens, that's going to be very much a drastic military conflict. We'll have to wait and see how things pan out there. Okay, so the next story. GOP senators block bill expanding care for veterans exposed to toxins. Republican lawmakers blocked passage of a bill in the U.S. Senate Wednesday that expands healthcare coverage for military veterans who were exposed to toxins and burn pits during their service. All Democrats and 8 Republicans voted for the Sergeant First Class Health Robinson Honor or PACT Act, but the 55 yes votes failed short of the 60 needed to end the filibuster in the Senate. 3 senators did not vote. Most prominently, Pat Toomey is a person who voted nay, and it's one of those things where it's he's on his way out, so he's not going to face any repercussions for his actions. And what's interesting is that, in actuality, one prominent person has been getting involved in this bill, Jon Stewart. He's been, much like he's done previously, he's been steadily pushing himself as being a voice for veterans. I think it's quite interesting, and I don't know if it's going to go, I don't know how this necessarily works. It's probably failed, but I think it's good to see that people are making a big fuss about this. although it's very sad that the bill didn't end up passing. The next story that we're going to talk about is something interesting that happened. You see, in Wisconsin, something interesting, like, literally just happened. Ron Johnson, he's the incumbent senator, and as you notice, look at this. There used to be quite a few more people here. In, like, the span of a week, Tom Nelson, Alex Larcy, and Sarah Goldlisky all dropped out to endorse Mandela Barnes. Chris Larson here already had endorsed Barnes long before. Mandela Barnes, for many people don't know, is the person who is widely considered the frontrunner for the seat. And in fact, I guess he's essentially guaranteed the seat right now. Because, like, basically, like, right here, 25th, Nelson drops out. 27th, Larcy drops out. Goldelsky drops out the 29th. Like, Mandela Barnes was very clearly the guy who was expected to take the seat. These guys are probably going to still get votes, I think. I don't know if they dropped out a little too late. But as you can tell, he's been quite an interesting candidate. And as you can tell, he's got a very close race with Johnson, presuming that him and Johnson make it to the end, which is very much likely to happen. But it's weird because I saw one person who, like, I was on our campaigns, and I saw one person saying that Mandela Barnes was an incredibly weak candidate. And I said, what makes Barnes weak? And he said, oh, Barnes is weak because Barnes is, like, this far left guy and, like, crazy. And it's like, do you not know anything about Wisconsin? This is the state that elected, like, many socialists. And you're going to be like, oh, no, far left guy's too crazy. And then I even go so far as to point out the fact that of all the candidates in the front lines, he was one of the best polling. Granted, Nelson was still, like, relatively high, but I mean, he's also a left winger. And he even went so far as to say this. This is one thing that I find really stupid. He even went so far as to say, let me see. Okay, that's after, but, like, he went so far as to say that Tammy Baldwin, like, he said, like, they needed a more generic Democrat, like Tammy Baldwin, to run, and it's like, as you can tell, not so much a generic Dem. These people just don't literally know any of the states that they're talking about. He's like the same people who were like, oh, Fetterman loses, but it's like, whatever. And speaking of losing, we got something interesting. Former Republicans and Democrats form third U.S. political party. Well, first of all, this title is a lie. It's not third. It's quite many, but look, as you can tell, we're talking about Andrew Yang again. Dozens of former Republicans and Democrats officials announced on Wednesday a new national third political party to appeal to millions of voters they say are dismayed with what they see as America's dysfunctional two-party system. The new party, called Forward, and whose creation was first reported by Reuters, will initially be co-chaired by former Democratic presidential candidate Andrew Yang and Christine Todd Whitman, former Republican governor of New Jersey. They hope that the party will become a viable alternative to the Republican and Democratic parties to dominate the U.S. politics, founding members told Reuters. Now, here's the thing. Let's explain this. This merger involves quite a few number of people. First of all, we'll get this thing out of the way. You see, it used to be called the Forward Party, but that was when it was a political PAC. But now that it is transitioning into a formal political party, it will now be just referred to as Forward. So, what the heck? Literally, it's like Forward Party, and now that it's a party, they're now just calling it Forward. That makes no sense. But anyways, this group is basically like just it's literally the most generic sort of party that you can think of. Like Yang was saying it, like not left and right forward. Well, this party is actually a merger of not only Yang's little group, but also two more groups the American Renewal Movement, and it was a political manifesto released on May 13, 2021 by 150 members and former members of the Republican Party, and the people who signed it are like right here. Basically, they're just a bunch of like center-right conservatives, you know, Bill Weld, Evan McMullin, Richard Painter, who was a Democrat. But here's the thing. It's basically just a bunch of former Republicans who joined together to try and push for like this thing. And the Serve America movement is another one. It was chaired by, you guessed it, a former Republican. And it is a neoconservative party. Like, many people pointing out, like, oh, we're seeing a lot of the former Republicans, but we're not really seeing any former Democrats. And the thing is, basically this is just proof that Yang has become devoid of everything. All of the things that made Andrew Yang's movement unique are gone, if they were even there to begin with. And like it's like Yang, like even Yang had to try and go to his people to try and be like, look guys, I know this is weird, but trust me, this is good. And because these people are even calling out his BS, they're just like, this makes no sense. They didn't sign up for the YangGang to be lumped into the freaking whatever. They didn't join the YangGang so they could be lumped into some like not left, not right forward thing. They joined the YangGang because they thought that Yang had actual interesting ideas. But the thing is, Yang is like literally, let's go to his website then. Let's just go to his website. Look at this thing. If it's still here, if his platform is still here, look, here are their priorities: free people, thriving communities, vibrant democracy. How are we different? Diverse thinking isn't just welcome, it's required. Bottom up, not top down. No purity tests. More. None of this is any different than any of the other thing. This is literally just textbook centrist group. See, because back then they had a platform here, but the platform is gone. They literally just removed the platform from the party. This is literally just, let me show you. These are all of the United States political parties. This is literally just, first of all, textbook Alliance Party. This is literally just the Alliance Party, which was made to be Rocky de la Fuente's thing. Okay, let's see. The Reform Party, remember them? Except the Reform Party actually had some populist elements in it. And now Yang doesn't even have that. What about the Unity Party? The Unity Party has this exact same mentality. Not right, not left forward. Alright, let's see here. What else? United Citizens Movement? Is this? No, this is a progressive one. Independent Citizens Movement? I don't know. Independent Party of Florida? I think this is centrist. No? Maybe? I don't know. Let me see. Approval Voting Party. Electoral Reform. Approval Voting. Okay, let's see. Are there any more in this area? There are more, but like, let me show you. I'm trying to show you more. They're probably all back down here. Created here. Disbanded? I'll try disbanded. No, you get what I mean. So American Movement, literally. Modern Whig Party merged into the Alliance Party. The Independence Party of America. What's this? Centrism. It's a centrist, nonpartisan thing. Let me see. Southern Party, Populist. No, that's... Like, I could just be looking at the middle part, but you got my point. These are party... Like, this is not a new strategy. This is literally like, basically, this is not new. None of this is new. This is all repeated. Yang literally just took his entire momentum in new and fresh ideas that he had in his head and decided to just turn that into generic centrist party. There's nothing new about what Yang is doing, and anybody who's still in the YangGang or supports Yang just clearly isn't thinking critically enough and doesn't understand that this is what he's doing. But anyways, let's move on to the next story. Adam Schiff. Speaking of Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff is making moves to replace her as House Speaker if she steps back after midterms. Although I find it interesting that this story comes out immediately after the Chinese government threatens to destroy her plane, so maybe he's trying to do it a little tighter than he thinks. And this article actually goes on to explain that he's not the only person who's sort of seen as a potential next in line, but there's also Steny Hoyer, James Clyburn, Hakeem Jeffries. If I had to take a wild guess, Hakeem Jeffries will probably be the favorite to become next leader. But the thing is, it even adds that Schiff has reached out to progressive and minority-led groups. Basically, what he's doing is he's reaching out to all these groups and basically floating the idea like, hey, if I ran for speaker, wouldn't you vote for me? And according to this, the progressive group said no, they wouldn't vote for him. They would instead just, I don't even know, like, would they run someone else? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But the thing is, the fact that Schiff is sort of somewhat openly talking about replacing Pelosi might be an indication that Pelosi's actually going to retire. Because I think Pelosi is going to retire from the speakership position after she loses the midterms, or if she wins the midterms. If she wins, I think maybe we could see that she might run around and say, like, basically, it could be any or. She could take a lose and then go, we need to unite behind me once more, and I can try and win it again. Or she can take it as a, I've done all I can do, I'm out. Or she can take a W and say, look, I think it's time for me to retire. Like, she can do whatever, essentially. But all I need to know is that when it's time for her to go, there's a progressive that's going to stand up and fight for that position. Jayapal, whatever. Anyways, speaking of people who are trying to succeed each other, we're going to be talking a little bit about 2024. I know we shouldn't be talking about 2024 that much, but I guess there's really not much else I can say because 2024 is a thing that's going to happen, and House Democrats are openly talking about Biden not running for re-election. It says right here, a Democratic member of the House of Representatives said that President Joe Biden shouldn't run for re-election. I have respect for Joe Biden. I think he has, despite some mistakes and some missteps, despite his age. I think he's a man of decency, of good principle, of compassion, of empathy, and of strength. But to answer your question directly, which I know is quite rare, no, I don't. He told a radio station that said, would he support Biden if he's on the ballot in 2024? And I don't think he means that he won't support Biden if he's on the ballot, but I think he means like he just doesn't want Biden to be on the ballot. I think the country would be well served by a new generation of compelling, well-prepared, dynamic Democrats to step up. And with that, I hope we can see a resurgence of the principled center-right Republican Party reform. That part's where he kind of loses it. And Phillips has stated that there are quite a number of Democrats that also agree with him. And if I had to take a wild guess, I think we've already heard from some of them, like Cory Bush and AOC have basically, and I think Jamal Bowman have been quiet-ish about the fact that they don't want Biden to run again. Basically, they've said, like, look, we don't really have time to talk about that. We should be focusing on other issues at the moment. But that's basically them trying to indicate that they wouldn't support Joe Biden, or maybe Joe Biden should face a primary challenger or whatever. But this is the thing. Dean Phillips is like a centrist guy or like a conservative. He's not that. Like, even they are saying, point blank, they don't want Biden to run. And that's the thing about 2024. They've openly talked about the fact, like, even if it's a 2024 rematch, it seems that people don't necessarily care. If Biden announces a run, there's a chance that there will be some prominent Democrats that might actually run against him. But then again, there may also, like on the Trump side, if Trump run, like, Republicans have openly talked about the fact that even if Trump runs, a lot of the people will still probably run. I think basically name-dropping DeSantis as a person who might end up running. People are not really enthusiastic for Biden and Trump 2024, and as such, people are literally trying to make sure everything in their power to make sure that that isn't a thing, because Democrats know if that's the case, then they might lose, and Republicans know that if that's the case, even if they win, do they really want that anymore? Although, they probably think that he will not win. Although, interesting enough, speaking of 2024, we got something interesting happening. A title that will definitely get your attention. Joe Biden gets first challenger for 2024 Democratic nomination. As speculation about who will run for president in 2024 continues to swirl, one man is already announcing his bid as the first Democratic candidate to mount a challenge against President Joe Biden. On Monday, political activist Jerome Segal announced his decision to pursue the nomination of the Democratic Party with a campaign focused on job security and peace in the Middle East. Segal's announcement came less than a week after he conceded the Democratic gubernatorial primary in Maryland. He ran in a crowded primary, losing to Oprah-backed Wes Moore, who was declared the winner late Friday and will go on to face Trump-backed Dan Cox in the general election. Segal garnered the second fewest votes among 10 candidates, receiving less than 1% of the vote. Segal's decision to run for president marks his fourth political campaign. The 78-year-old first challenged Ben Cardin in Maryland's 2018 Senate primary. He also ran the Democratic president. That's not true. He didn't run for the Democratic presidential nomination in 2020. He ran for his own political party. I was planning to delay the announcement on my candidacy until after the midterm elections. My decision to go public now was triggered by Joe Biden's embarrassing trip to the Middle East. Segal, who is the founder of the socialist Bread and Roses Party, said that he was particularly upset by Biden's comments from earlier this month, during which the president said that the ground was not ripe to restart Israeli peace talks. In his announcement, Segal also blamed Biden for his decision to fist bump the psychopathic killer, referring to the president's interaction with Saudi clown prince Mohammed bin Salman. Biden drew right to criticism. Okay, so we don't got any more about him. But we're going to be talking about a little bit about Jerome Segal, because the thing is, I'll be honest, Jerome Segal is actually a pretty decent candidate if you actually look into him. Let me see, did he update his website to now it's a presidential site? Yep, here it is. Right here, right now. He's announced his new intention to... I'm running for governor of Maryland. Okay, so he's changed the... No, I'm wrong. I'm stupid. But anyways, first we're going to talk a little bit about Jerome Segal. Oh, see, he got his first... He got his a picture now. Okay, so let's see. Did he put his picture in here? Oh, why do you get removed? The dude is on the Wikipedia page. He announced that he was running. Where did he go? Anyways, that's beside the point. But here's the thing. Jerome Segal is actually quite an interesting person. Like, as it stated, he had formed his own third party at one point, the Bread and Roses Party. Like, the idea would, of course, be bread and roses. And, like, technically he said, like, his party advocates for social ideas, like, from each according to his ability, each according to his needs, while also advocating for democratic principles and limited government, individual liberty rule. Like, basically, like, some generic, like, left libertarian type thing. And Segal, one of his most prominent things is fighting for the Israeli-Palestine conflict, like fighting for the side of the Palestinians, but he's actually run for office before, like right here. He ran against Chelsea Manning, but we're not going to put that against him. We're going to say that he just needed to get his bread and roses on the ballot. But the thing is, and if you're worried, if like, oh, he's like a bad person, no. Even when he ran a third party, he was doing the safe state strategy, saying that he wouldn't run as a spoiler for Joe Biden, or not Joe Biden, Joe Biden. And his platform is actually pretty interesting. He wants a less competitive society, less economic anxiety, a steady reduction in necessary labor time, introducing the progressively expanding the realm of passion work, policies, guaranteed basic employment, transition to 4-day work week, building the simpler living option by living wage policy matrix, tax transformation, schooling to have less to do with the job market. Like, he's got a pretty decent platform, all things considered. And I would be 100% down for Jerome Segal for president. I'd be down to get this guy, I want this guy to be the next Andrew Yang. I want this guy to, try and do this and then restart the Bread of Roses party. Let's see how things go. Speaking of things, we'll get to the main topic now. We're going to be doing some reaction times. I don't know how many things I will be reacting to. I don't know how many things I will be reacting to. But I think the first idea is that we're going to start off with at least the pilots of my shows. I don't know if we're going to be reacting to all of these today. There's a good chance we're probably not. But the thing is, I just want to see how far we've come. And maybe I can correct some misinformation that I spread in these episodes. Or maybe I can give some fun little tidbits. Alright, so we'll start with the Roseanne episode. Okay, so be prepared for worse audio quality.
Roseanne Sherry-Barr is an American actress, comedian, writer, and television producer, but you more than likely already knew that.
Also, what the heck is this background? Oh yeah, because I remember my old video editing software, they gave you the option to put your own backgrounds. And not like now, with my newer editing software, now we have to, you have to make the backgrounds and then import that as a picture and then work on top of it. But this one, it did give you the option to have your own backgrounds. Anyways, I just found that very interesting.
Probably didn't know was that she ran for the office of the United States presidency in 2012. Now I know what you're really thinking, is this some crazy plot from Roseanne? Actually, no, surprisingly not. But let's start back from...
See?
Now I know what you're really thinking, is this some crazy plot from Roseanne? Actually, no.
What you think I am, a nostalgia critic? Haha. I should put it in theater mode.
Oh, surprisingly not. But let's start back from the beginning. On August 5th, 2011...
Getty Images. No.
Roseanne appeared on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno and announced her candidacy for the presidency in the 2012 election, running on the newly founded Green Tea Party ticket.
Totus es unus, meaning all are one. I didn't even notice that. I didn't even notice it. I mean, I did notice it at the time, obviously. Although I wish I knew I could do the mask, I could have done the mask to get rid of this. Although I guess I would have gotten rid of the stars as well. Oh well.
She also said that she would run for the Prime Minister of Israel. OnTheIssues.org describes her as a libertarian-leaning progressive, as her campaign called attention to economics, personal...
I just noticed this line. Ooh.
health, and meditation, even making appearances at Occupy Wall Street, stating that any guilty Wall Street bankers should be, quote, forced to give up any income over $100 million, be sent to re-education camps, or be executed by beheading if they resisted. However, in January of 2012, she filed with...
Oh yeah, I remember, because I bought the Roseanne movie, and then took screenshots of it for this episode. Although, funny fact, after watching that documentary, I used my private Twitter account back when I still used that. I used it and then tagged Rocky Anderson and said oh, look who I have here. And then he followed me on my private account and doesn't follow me on my public one. So it's okay then.
The FEC as a candidate for the Green...
I can hear me in the background with my bed and stuff, because I used to record on my bed because I didn't have a desk or anything. Oh boy, I don't think we're gonna be reacting to too much more, because I'm gonna keep pausing so I can talk about random stuff that's somewhat relevant.
January of 2012, she filed with the FEC as a candidate for the Green Party and formally announced the change on February 2nd of that year. The reason she did so was that she could give the Greens more recognition. She gained endorsements from the Green Party Black Caucus, the National Organization
It was too early. Normal was put on too early.
For Reform of Marijuana Laws, and Cynthia McKinney, the Green Party
Ooh, why do we keep putting on these lines? The picture's not fully in. Also, screw you, dirty anti-Semite. Anyways.
candidate in 2008, although she, of course, had
I guess I just didn't align it right.
many challengers, the most prominent one being Dr. Jill Stein, the American physician and politician who ran for the governorship of Massachusetts on 2 separate occasions. During the
this isn't even lined up right. I don't know if it was because the editing thing wasn't done right, or if I was just dumb, but it's not even there.
2 separate occasions. During the primaries, she rarely made any public appearances, mostly campaigning via Skype. Well,
I did find it funny that I was like, she made very few public appearances, and then I put a public appearance here. That's weird.
Skype. While her campaign manager, Farheen Hakim, former Green Party co-chair, did 90% of the work. The primaries were harsh, with Roseanne attacking the frontrunner Jill for not being...
Oh yeah, see, this is the, from the movie. Because she did this, she did this in private, but it's like, it's really weird.
As well known as her. Barr managed to get 72 delegates in the primaries, winning Georgia and tying with Jill Stein in Oregon, Hawaii, Iowa, and Kentucky. Eventually,
Can't Mess Play won that time. I think that's the only time Can't Mess Play ever won a state, actually.
Hawaii, Iowa, and Kentucky. Eventually, at the Green Party National Convention, Jill Stein was chosen as the Green Party nominee. Many people suggested that Roseanne should be picked as Stein's running mate, but Jill Stein chose Cherry Hunkala instead. Barr was invited to speak, but chose to send Hakim to speak on her behalf, and a shouting match in the hallway reportedly ensued. Roseanne took the loss well, and by that I mean... Roseanne took the loss well, and by that I mean she threw a tantrum, and she caused a lot of controversy by using alleged...
Aw, yeah, this is a... I think this is actually, the Wikipedia article that explains this controversy explains that this happened after the thing, but I think this might have happened during the primary. I don't know if this is the case. Maybe this is during... maybe this was just when she was, running with the Peace and Freedom Party, but, it's I challenged Jill to debate me for months. She refused. She's wrong on FP and Econ. Jill is also in favor of letting men in spaces where the young girls can change. If she has a penis, she's not letting it. It's, very clearly interesting, and this is probably the clue that we need to show that Cynthia McKinney ain't a left-winger by any means.
Transphobic words in statements about Stein on Twitter. Shortly after losing the Green Party nomination, Barr announced that she would run on the Peace and Freedom Party ticket with activist Cindy Sheehan as her running mate. For those of you who don't know, the Peace and Freedom Party is a feminist/socialist party. Sheehan immediately had disagreements with Barr, from Barr's views on policy to Barr's desire to only campaign online, and Barr's treatment of the Green Party nominee, Jill Stein, so she tried to leave the ticket. However, she was unable to do so.
Yeah, this is a very interesting one. Because I don't think a lot of people talk about this. It's no longer on the campaign formal announcement. For personal or health reasons, I've decided to pull out of active participation from the Barr Sheehan 2012 campaign. I strongly believe in the platform as written and the mission statement of the Peace and Freedom Party, and I hope to continue my activism with my health improves. As to personal reasons, candidate Barr and I have irreconcilable differences on how we best serve the Peace and Freedom Party. I believe between my health issues and disparity of our political approach, both the campaign missed Barr and the party. Okay, update. Apparently it's too late according to state politics for me to resign for the ticket, but I'm withdrawing active support in campaigning, so I will still be the VP choice on ballots.
So she simply stopped actively campaigning for Roseanne. Roseanne was only on the ballot in Colorado, Florida, and California, and had write-in access in a lot of other states, putting her grand total of electoral votes to 267. Since her home state of Hawaii didn't allow write-in votes, she decided to vote for Barack Obama. Roseanne won 0.05% of the popular vote, and getting 6th place overall, placing above Justice Party candidate Rocky Anderson, who actually had access to more states than her. However, as you may have noticed...
Why did I include that tidbit about Rocky Anderson? Oh yeah, because I was obsessed with the Justice Party at the time.
Anderson, who actually had access to more states than her. However, as you may have noticed by many of her statements and sentiments, her campaign may not have been genuine, and nowhere is that more evident than in the documentary Roseanne for President, a documentary about her campaign for president, similar to Who is Vermin Supreme and Outsider Odyssey. That, alongside many of her statements, made many people, including myself,
Oh yeah, I didn't read that. Somewhere within the concept of justice, the worst guilty must always be removed. I can't divorce this, not completely. The people must have justice, so I want to reinstate and enshrine the blessed and holy guillotine. So yeah, I did include, I included, Cindy Sheehan's dropout announcement. That's interesting. Because I remember that I used to do that a lot more. I used to include a lot more stuff in the description. Oh, my Quora account. I remember that. No one commented. What the heck?
Questioned if her campaign was legitimate. Her and her family.
More Getty images. Oh, yeah. This was back when I didn't really write, like, description, so I just copied and pasted, like, the first segment of the video. Oh, yeah, and the Vermin Supreme documentary. I actually, I think I have a illegal way to watch that, if I remember correctly. You see, because I bought it, and then, like, I bought it on YouTube, and then it stopped working on YouTube, and I'm like, what the heck? So then, they send me, like, the password and username for a website, and then it just said, here, you can use this, and it's like, okay. And I didn't even send any proof that I purchased it, but I did purchase it 100%.
Family insists that it was real. That didn't end her involvement in politics, as evident by her interview on the Rubin Report and her endorsement of Donald Trump, despite her left leanings. Her explanation for so being, I think we would be so lucky if Trump won, because then it wouldn't be Hillary, even revealing that she had voted for him. And more recently, the character Roseanne from the newer seasons of the Roseanne show is an outspoken Trump supporter. It makes sense to me, because I view her as the left-wing Donald Trump, due to many of her statements being sort of outlandish.
You can hear me scratch. Stop.
And her being outspoken in interviews. And with that, we conclude Roseanne Barr's political campaign in history. Not as impactful as, say, Ralph Nader or Ross Perot, but hopefully you learned a little bit more about our strange political system. Besides, Roseanne threw her name out for 2020, so now we can actually prove that that is a legitimate claim that she might run for president. Thanks for...
Oh, did she? Did she do that? I think she might have. Oh yeah, and this is when I was still including Mr. Beat in the backs of the videos, so people wouldn't assume that I was ripping him off. Well, that's pretty much all there is for that video. I guess I should go ahead and just skip to one of these ones. I think we'll end with the Reform Party video. Okay, so we'll do this one next. Jack Feller. Believe it or not, this picture, I should have said some information about the beginning of this. You see, because I think, if I remember correctly, like, yeah, the Roseanne Bar, for those who don't know, the Roseanne video was actually one of my earliest, obviously. That's the reason why I included it. It's one of my earliest videos. And this was like before I had my formal schedule in place. See, because originally I just wanted to do these videos. Well, actually, that's not true. When this channel was first made, this channel was made like really, like, I mean, hold on. You can just go into some backstory right now. See, this channel was made in November 26th of 2017. I already planned to ditch my other YouTube endeavor and then do this because I felt this would be more interesting to do. And then I decided to like move on to do other things, and this is the first one I did. I edited this for 2 weeks, and I had like really big ambitions for the Pluribus Unum channel. Basically, like, I wanted to do a lot of things. I wanted to do like political oriented sketches, I wanted to do like the informative videos, I wanted to do podcasts, I wanted to do a lot of things, but the thing is, of course, when I was like a 17-year-old who didn't have much access to a lot of these things, I didn't really do that. So I instead only stuck to some smaller stuff. And the idea was that I was originally, I think the podcast was, because the original plan for the podcast was actually I wanted to have 2 people do it. But as you can tell, that didn't end up happening. So instead, I decided to have just the podcast with me, but I decided rather late in the game to do that. And then that's when I decided to, as you can tell, quite the obvious scheduling conflict. I didn't know exactly what the schedule was going to be very early on, and as you can tell, I've been struggling with it for a while, and then I managed to get it not struggling anymore. So anyways, but basically my idea was very early on when I actually did weekly videos. See, they're weekly. The idea would be that I would do a very big episode, and then I would do a small one to kind of balance it out. See? Big one, little, big, little, big, little, big, little, big. This was the first one where I did big, big, little, 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 big, big, big-ish, little. Like, as you see, that was the original plan, but then I just decided it was better to just stick as I moved on. I kind of just generally just wanted to produce more of the big episodes and not the small episodes. So, very much so, that's what I did. But anyways, we should probably just move on to the Jack Feller one. I don't, like, the reason why I want to talk about Jack Feller, of all people, was just because I thought Jack Feller was sort of this weird anomaly. And, you'll see why if you haven't seen this episode already. But also be wary, I think this is, like, my worst video, I think. I'm pretty sure this is.
Lowell Jackson Feller, born October 3rd, 1931, is an American perennial presidential candidate and retired engineer. He ran in every single presidential election since 1988.
Why did I include this definition way late?
He asserted on his campaign website that his platform is based on the authorized King James Bible and has never changed. His platform includes the elimination of the liquor industry, banning abortion, banning pornography, prayer in public schools, and the criminalization of homosexuality.
Looks like Jack Feller won again. Wait. Of course. Jack Feller. It was him. Holy shit, the dude's still alive? Like, the dude literally has been... Wait, hold on. Holy... on. Holy shit, the dude is still around, and he did an interview. Hold on, I want to read this. Hold on. Screw the episode right now. I want to read this. In 1931, construction began on the Hoover Dam. 1931, in October 1931, Jack Feller was born. Holy crap. Jack Feller, oh my goodness. During his almost 90 years of life, Feller has lived through many wars, including a world war, presidents from Hoover, Nixon, to Biden, economics ups and downs. Yet when he reflects, he feels that his personal accomplishments. Okay, let's see. The only thing that matters when we come to the end of this earth is what you believe and who you believe. I believe that Christ died for our sins, according to the scriptures. These days, as Feller's tall, lean frame is seen more often folded into a chair than preaching at a pulpit, his mind turns frequently to scriptures. He knows by heart. Feller was 10 when the horrific bombing of Pearl Harbor happened. I want to get to his presidential endeavors. He ran for president of the United States. Yeah, no kidding. I ran for president because I wanted to draw much attention to God's plan as salvation possible. My campaign was basically on the Kim James Brothers' Bible, holy word. Feller would go on to campaign for president in every presidential election from 1988 to 2012, running on a Republican and later Prohibition ticket. His platform advocated for prayer in public schools and lamented that abortion, pornography, and alcohol industries. When asked what he learned from his multiple candidacies for president, Feller says, "I found that people either readily accept it or totally reject the word of God, and there seems to be no middle ground." As Feller approaches his 90th birthday, age necessary has brought with physical limitations and dependence on others. We just hard on Feller, who is independent by nature, yet as he approaches his milestone, he sees time to reflection. Instead, Feller reflects on his truths. What a person does in regards to, like, honestly, good for him. I'm like, honestly, I don't want the harm to be done to the dude. Whatever. Like, I mean, did Jack Feller, I want to know if Jack Feller saw this video. That'd be so weird if Jack Feller somehow managed to watch this episode. That's so weird. Anyways, let's just continue. Jack Feller, he managed to win.
Banning pornography, prayer in public schools, and the criminalization of homosexuality. Feller has also blamed the ills of society on, quote, atheists, Marxists, liberals, queers, liars, draft dodgers, flag burners, dope addicts, sex perverts, and anti-Christians. In regards to his actual campaigns, I could not find any information on his 1980 and anti-liars society on, quote, atheists, Marxists, liberals, queers, liars, draft dodgers, flag burners, dope addicts, sex perverts, and anti-Christians.
I do like this. I do like that, like, joke where it's like
perverts, drafts, liberals, queers, liberals, atheists.
I do like this one. I wish for this one I put like the Amazing Atheist here or something. Like, I should have just made them all like funny ones.
Marxists, like, liberals, queers, liars, draft dodgers, flag burners, dope addicts, sex perverts, queers,
I think it makes
ills of
sense
society,
to start
unquote,
them with, like,
atheists,
like,
Marxists, liberals, queers, liars, draft dodgers, flag burners, dope addicts, sex perverts, and anti-Christians. In regards to his actual campaigns, I could not find any information on his 1988 campaign, so I can assume that he did not get on the ballot. Now, when he ran in 1992, he filed for the New Hampshire primaries, gaining 36 votes, and by November 1991, had spent $40,000 of his own money on the campaign and had sent a King James Bible to the Federal Election Commission as a copy of his platform. By the end of the primaries, Feller got 6,296.
Now, you might be wondering, this is one tidbit you might not be wondering. I mean, you might be wondering, but, like, why pink as the background for Feller? The reason being is that pink was the color that is commonly associated as the color of the Prohibition Party. So since Feller was the nominee of the Prohibition Party at one point, I figured, hey, why not include, like, this?
6 votes. When he ran in 1996, he criticized former President Bush and said that he was, quote, responsible for the inestimable damage toward the destruction of this sovereign, democratic, constitutional republic, who continued to water the seeds of international satanic Marxism to the exclusion of our national sovereignty, and that President Bill Clinton, quote, merely shifted into overdrive the socialist, Marxist New World Order agenda. As far as my research goes, it seems he was only on the ballot in Puerto Rico, where he got 34 votes, and 1 write-in vote from Idaho.
Ironic that Feller gets, like, it's only on the ballot in a territory.
He ran again in 2000 but was unable to get on any primary ballot. However, when he ran in 2004 to quote-unquote challenge George W. Bush, he was the only other candidate on the North Dakota caucus. As he met the Federal Election Commission requirement of $5,000, he received 14 votes. Later, he ran in 2008, but did not qualify for any ballot. But 2012 was the year in Feller's favor. While his run for the Republican Party did not gain 2008, but
what was that?
Did not qualify for any ballot. But 2012 was the year in Feller's favor. While his
I really did not do proper editing to fix that. Oh boy.
Run for the Republican Party did not gain traction. He did when he ran for the Prohibition Party. He even beat popular prohibition activist Jim Hedge. The party chairman, Toby Davis, was named as running mate, and he was only on the ballot in Louisiana and received 518 votes on Election Day, getting 27th place overall. Despite that, he went back to the Republican Party for 2016, but did not get on the ballot, and had already filed with the FEC for 2020. Thanks for watching this video.
Did I dox this poor man?
Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to subscribe to be notified when a future video might.
Oh man, I should. I mean, I get it. It's public knowledge and all, but I feel bad that I might have doxed Jack Feller of all people. I'm gonna look at that address and I'm gonna see if I can. That'd be cool to get to like meet Jack Feller. That'd be so weird. Like, that'd be so freaking weird. But anyways, you can probably tell why this episode isn't one of my favorites. Like, the majority of the time I just basically just sped through some like presidential elections, and it's like it's not like it's not like a party history video where when I do that I have like context and added things to make it better. But the thing is, it's like I should have done something to make it like unique or special. That's weird. That's bad. So anyways, I guess we'll do another short video. Classical liberalism.
Classical liberalism is a political ideology.
This was the first one of the ideology videos, and I think I'm going to do all of them except for this one. I'm going to remove this one from the playlist right now because honestly, I think I just want to do these ones. Like, I'm deciding as I do the episode, but basically I'm going to do these ones because these are like way early on in the channel, so it'd be better to like get some feedback from this or whatever. But as you can tell, this is the first of my ideology videos, because as you can tell, I plan to do like subsections where it's like presidential candidates and political ideologies and political parties, but as you can tell, things don't necessarily quite work out. And the reason why I chose classical liberalism to begin with is because simply because I was focusing a lot on the Dave Rubin and how he was really weird in his ideas of classical liberalism or whatever. And I figured that it would be interesting because I could put Dave Rubin in the thumbnail and boom, shaboom, boom, boom, money.
Classical liberalism is a political ideology and a branch of liberalism which advocates civil liberties under the rule of law with an emphasis...
The American Civil Liberties Union. I mean, I guess there was really nothing else I could put here.
On economic freedom. The reason it is specifically called classical liberalism is due to it being the original classic version of modern/social liberalism popularized by Franklin Delano Roosevelt. The core beliefs of classical liberalism include a government to provide individual rights and to provide services that cannot be provided in a free market, and common national defense to provide protection against foreign invaders.
Oh man, I didn't put the thingy.
Common national defense to provide protection against foreign invaders, laws to provide protection for the citizens from wrongs committed by them by other citizens, which include protection of private property, enforcement of contracts and common law, building and maintaining public institutions, public works that include a stable currency, standard weights and measures, and building and upkeep of roads, canals, harbors, railways, communications, and communications.
That's pretty funny. I include Storm Along from Flapjack.
Harbors, railways, communications, and postal services. It developed in the early 19th century, building on the ideas of the previous century as a result of the urbanization and to the Industrial Revolution in Europe and the United States. A prototype of this ideology was the ideology of the former Democratic Republican Party, i.e. the party of Thomas Jefferson, and later the ideology of the Bourbon Democrats, the largest faction of the Democratic Party until the 1930s, when FDR merged the ideologies of classical liberalism and social democracy to create modern American social liberalism. It is
that's not quite accurate, but I think it's like a general idea that I think makes sense. Also, this is back when I used this to represent social democracy because that was me, and I like this ideology. I like this symbol. I basically graduated it to be the picture for democratic socialism, but it's like it doesn't really matter at this point. Like, really, democratic socialism, social democracy, basically use that for whatever. That's the picture of Socialist International. You can use that for whatever, essentially. But this is like partially true. He basically took aspects of social democracy and then put them into liberalism, so it's not wrong, but it's also not technically right, as he doesn't really take any inspiration from specific social democratic figures. But I get the idea that I'm trying to explain here.
Create modern American social liberalism. It is more closely related to modern-day libertarianism due to their very similar ideologies and thoughts.
This isn't censored. Sorry, this is in the center. It hurts me to see that it's not centered.
Minimizing government to the point where class...
I think it's because... no, wait. No, it makes sense that it was... it should have been centered.
liberalism is now.
What I was gonna say is I thought it was gonna be from like the one where it's like the big libertarian one where this was next to the word Libertarian Party. But the thing is, I don't think that's the case. I think it's just I didn't do it right.
Now a faction of libertarianism. Notable class.
See, right there, like, maybe I took it from this, and that's why it's not aligned right. But I do know for a fact that versions of this do exist. Also, I should give a fun fact. I don't know if I've said this before. I'm pretty sure I have. But here's a fun fact that you probably didn't know. You see the my Pluribus Unum like logo and stuff. The handle of the microphone is actually the handle from the Libertarian Party logo. It's actually like literally, it's literally is the same thing. And the reason why I did that was because I was like interested in like the left libertarian sphere, so that's what I was trying to do. I even made like anarcho-capitalist and libertarian socialist versions of the Libertarian Party logo because they're like caucuses within the party, but I didn't end up posting them or anything because I kind of like stopped being interested as this channel started growing. Not even as this channel started growing, I was like, as I posted the channel, I started realizing that left libertarian didn't mean a libertarian party, so I kind of just I'm getting interested in the Libertarian Party.
Is now a faction of libertarianism. Notable classical liberals include philosopher John Locke, the 22nd and 24th President Grover Cleveland, Libertarian Party candidate Gary Johnson, and Dave Rubin. Now, there have been many attempts to merge classical liberalism with social liberalism because of the fact that they feel they need to...
What?
That they feel they need to differentiate themselves. Social liberalism because of the fact that liberalism with socialism merge classical Rubin. Now, there have been many attempts to merge classical liberalism with social liberalism because
social. That's just too cringe. Why did I post that? Man. Why?
The fact that they feel they need to differentiate themselves from the authoritarian leftist college students.
Authoritarian leftist, and I put this in there. Oh boy, this takes me back. This was old by the time I started posting this.
Who call themselves progressives. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
Oh, now I see what I was trying to say. I was being stupid. I was trying to say that Dave Rubin was trying to turn social liberalism into classical liberalism, but in actuality, Dave Rubin's just stupid. So, yeah, I guess that's essentially all I really have to say on this episode. I really only made this one so I could, like, prepare for the Libertarian Party video. And, that's really, not that impressive. Anyways, let's just move on to a new pilot. The Elección Presidencial de Mexico de 1917. Honestly, I don't know if I should even watch it because I realize very heavily now that I screwed up very much so. I might have to go back and completely revamp this series because this first episode is so bad.
Pluribus Unum presentas.
I mean, first of all, I will say that I do like the idea of like doing like the Televisia logo.
Pluribus Unum presentas. Elecciones presidenciales en la historia mexicana.
Like you see, instead of I started, as you can tell, that intro is sort of a mix of many different things. First, it's me trying to borrow from the Mr. Beat, like, presidential elections of U.S. history video. Like, take that, like, intro. You know the one I'm talking about if you're a fan of his channel. Oh, yeah, I remember this person, Elizabeth Scott. But anyways, you if you watched Mr. Beat, you know the one I'm talking about. But then it also begins with the Televisia, like...
Pluribus Unum presentas.
Because he starts off the video with, like, Mr. Beat presents... But it's like, see, it's Mexican, so it starts off with this. I actually did plan another thing And if you're interested, I might be interested in like doing this. I actually thought about taking these videos and then translating them into Spanish so that they can actually be more accessible to people in Latin America. I think it would be much more interesting to see that play out. Let me know if that's something you might be interested in, but honestly, I can't really do it at the moment because I don't speak Spanish. Maybe I could find a person who would be down, and I could just give them the scripts and they could translate them, and then, I don't know, I guess I could just put the audio over the episodes, but I don't think that would be the best idea. That would be like a larger endeavor. That would be like I have to do the entire video over again. I'd be down to do it at one point, just not at the moment.
Boy, we're skipping a lot of Mexican history now, aren't we?
Yeah, you definitely are skipping a lot of Mexican history.
Mexican empires, many dictators that call themselves president,
Is that... What's his name? Hold on. President of Mexico. President of Mexico. Oh, I could have just clicked head to state of Mexico. First holder Guadalupe Victoria. Oh, I don't know. Let me see. I don't think he was he a dictator? I don't think so. Not technically. I think technically... That was very mean of me to say about him. I think I should have included like a different person.
Dictators that call themselves president. The Mexican Revolution was still going on. 29th president Porfirio Diaz got exiled. 33rd president Francisco Madero was killed. 35th president Victoriano Huerta resigned. And the incumbent president Francisco Carvajal was pretty much keeping the next guy's seat warm.
Yeah, in retrospect, I really screwed up just not including any information of the Mexican. I wanted this channel to like be like, we're only gonna specifically talk about the politics aspects, and I think it was because I was like dumber, I guess, because I really was like, politics literally is just elections essentially. And it's like, not necessarily. Like, of course, I didn't think that 100%. I included like ideology videos and like candidate videos, but like, as you can tell, I was more focused on like the electoral aspect. And I probably, like, I mean, I still am, obviously. I still talk about elections a lot. They're very important and they're interesting. But also, I do need to understand, I probably should have included like the pretext, because it, like I said in my screw up videos, this would have explained quite a lot if I actually covered a lot of the stuff prior.
As you can see, it was far from becoming the Mexico that we all know and love. But to show that the revolution...
Also, I should probably add this. This is kind of offensive. I included that phrase, like, I love Mexico, and like, this is far from the Mexico we all know and love. I included that as a joke. The intention was me being like, oh, we clearly don't like Mexico, because everybody, like, mocks Mexico, like, oh, it's crime-ridden and blah, blah, blah. But honestly, it's like, that was way out of line, probably.
But to show that the revolution was bringing us a brand new Mexico, instead of appointments and indirect elections, this was going to be the first election where the president was elected via a popular vote system.
Jab at the U.S. So clearly I wasn't like 100% in the Mexico bad, America good thing. But the thing is, I really think that my idea of that being the beginning point was also kind of flawed. Because I think it would have been better if maybe we did get, like I said, it would have been better if we had the context. Like, I mean, I'll probably even just start making episodes that take place before this episode so we can formally start beginning, like formally get things done. We'll have to wait and see. I don't know about that. Like, I throw ideas around, but I don't know if I'll actually do them.
The election was held on February 5th of 1917, and 3 famous generals of the Mexican Revolution ran as candidates for president. They were Governor of Coahuila, Venustiano Carranza of the Liberal Constitutionalist Party, which was placed to the left and adhered to the ideology of former President Maduro, Pablo González Garza of the Democratic League, who was apparently drafted for the presidency, and Álvaro Obregón, who was running as an independent, also apparently drafted. Also running for president was Mexican eccentric Nicolas Zúñiga y Miranda, who had run in the election of 1892 as the People's candidate. Miranda was actually arrested for running against incumbent Diaz, and while in prison declared himself to be the legitimate president. Consider him to be the Mexican vermin supreme, since he ran for president multiple times after this.
Ran from president?
And dressed in ridiculous garb, at least compared to other Mexican nobility. And here are the results.
That's another thing I miss. The old video editing software, they gave like these cool like text things that I could do.
And here are the results.
I even included like a little Google documents to put down which text effect that I used so that I would know that I didn't use the same effect twice.
Venustiano Carranza won, becoming the first directly elected president in Mexican history. Carranza got 97.18% of the popular vote. Garza came in second with 1.41% of the popular vote. Miranda got a distant third with 0.92% of the popular vote. Though due to the satirical nature of his campaign, people don't usually count his votes with the rest of them. And Obregón got 0.49% of the popular vote. I'm sure nothing bad will happen to Carranza. Te veré para las próximas elecciones, amigo. Thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment.
Yeah, there's really not much else I could say, except that I guess got better with the Spanish. So anyways, I guess we can finally talk about this episode. The first episode of the show that I think probably will have a lot more good in it than bad. I don't know. We'll have to find out. See, and I even got to put chapters in it afterwards. This is the first mistake that I think I should acknowledge. I included the thumbnail in here instead of like a first part text. And that kind of stinks. I probably should have done differently. And also, you can tell I kind of was a bit liberal with the little text, the little thingies. See, I included a Perot one, I included the Buchanan one, I included the two competitors to Buchanan, and I included Nader, Weil, Cross, and Rocky. These two were sort of like cheap cop-outs. I probably should have just included actually no, I think this works. But anyways, like I said, I shouldn't have included this at the beginning to begin with. I should have included like an actual title, like a beginning card. But I think it's just whatever.
Let's go back to 1992. Republicans were running a candidate that was losing popularity fast, and the Democrats were running a young, charismatic candidate. By that time, political unrest was growing and people wanted a third option, and while they already had multiple options, only one was able to step.
I like that. That I included like that in a little jab.
Growing and people wanted a third option, and while they already had multiple.
Because this is a common problem that I always seem to get. And it's the same thing. Like in this episode, I talked about Yang. It's like people are like, we want a third option. It's like, you have third options. You're just not paying attention. Pay attention to the other candidates, and then you can have more options.
Options. Only one was able to step into the limelight. Henry Ross Perot, founder of Electronic Data Systems and billionaire, decided to throw his hat in the ring and run for president. He ran on a radical centrist platform, rather than the semi-centrist platform of the main party candidates. This platform called for a
semi-centrist platform is a little bit, that's actually probably like an error I would probably say that I did, because I honestly don't think either of them like semi-centrist by any means. In fact, well, I mean, I guess technically you could argue that they're both center-right, so maybe that's semi-centrist. But to a degree, Perot, he might even be considered center-left sometimes. Because Perot, literally, is like radical centrist. He takes like some of his, like half of his platform from the left, half of his platform from the right. And that is truly like radical centrism. He's a capitalist, but he also stood for like single payer. He was against like NAFTA, that kind of stuff. I don't know, like he did seem like a more actually populist, even though he's a billionaire. Quite interesting.
A balanced budget, an end to outsourcing of jobs, and enactment of electronic direct democracy. He selected Vice Admiral James B. Stockdale as his running mate. Perot was very popular at the time, and even getting a place in all three presidential debates because certain rules weren't in effect. Stockdale even took the advantage of him and Perot's new fame by saying the famous line,
"Who am I? Why am I here?"
But on July 16th,
I really don't like you could tell this was clearly like first episode jitters. Like you could tell just overwhelming. Like I did not I talked very slow, and I was way too close to the mic. It was clearly just oof. But as you can tell, I've definitely gotten better. I actually do know one weird thing. See, there was one video that said that this was a presidential failure, but as you can tell by that clip, it was clearly not a failure. They clapped at him.
Stockdale even took the advantage of him and Perot's new fame by saying the famous line,
"Who am I? Why am I here?"
But on July 16th, Perot dropped out, citing many media gaffes such as when he accidentally called African Americans "you people" and stating that he wanted to protect his daughter. But later, he re-entered the race with the idea of explaining his economic plan, and his poll numbers quickly stagnated. And by the end of the election, he managed to get 18.9% of the popular vote. Most people thought this would end Perot's ideas, but they were incredibly wrong. Dissatisfied by the Republican Congress not being able to fulfill any of the positions that they wanted, many of Perot's former supporters wanted to form a new political party called the Independent Party, but since that name was already taken, they decided to...
I never managed to find out the party that was originally from. It says they couldn't have that name because that name was taken, but I couldn't find the party that is called the Independent Party from that time period. That's weird.
Second best name, the Reform Party, and Richard...
Text, then picture. Oh no.
Second best name, the Reform Party, and
like 0.1 second. Oh, that 0.1 second is gonna kill me forever.
Reform Party, and Richard Lamb, the 38th governor of Colorado, announced his intention to run.
There might be a little bit more to this that I can explain, but I'm gonna wait for a little bit more.
For the Reform Party ticket, Ross Perot held off from actually acknowledging the Reform Party primaries until the Federal Election Commission indicated that Ross Perot would be the only candidate to be able to get federal funding due to his performance in the last election. He entered the Reform Party primaries and easily won, and then selected.
You see, that part is actually a very controversial thing. Because and it's related to this video because Jesse Ventura is in this video, but during the 2020 election, the Jesse Ventura people were actually trying to cite this election as proof. They were citing this election, but not even for the argument they were trying to make. You see, they were using this election as oh, this is what the Green Party did. They're saying that Ross Perot rigged the election for him against Richard Lamb, when in fact that didn't happen at all. When Ross Perot entered, he immediately just became the favorite to win because the whole party was founded by Ross Perot supporters. So clearly they were going to back him and not Richard Lamb. But and ironically, this statement was what they were trying to actually do. They were claiming that that they needed to just forego what the people wanted and draft somebody else to run for president, which is what this party did.
Elected economist Pat Choate as his running mate.
Although there's another part that I did miss. There was actually a huge speculative process for who would be his VP running mate, one of which included I did plan. I think at one point I will actually remake this video because even though I do generally like this episode, it still definitely has the first episode problems. So definitely probably could use a little bit of the new polish.
However, due to the CPD changing its rules to prevent a repeat of 1992, Perot couldn't enter the debates, and that changed the out of the election.
That changed the out of the election.
1992, Perot couldn't enter the debates, and that changed the out of the election, and Perot only got 8.4% of the popular vote. However, he was able to get $12.5 million in federal election funds to fund the next presidential election. But first, they had to get through the midterm.
did Perot really need that money anyways? He probably could have financed the party anyways.
Before the 1998 midterms, there was a slight controversy as many Reform Party members felt that Perot rigged the primaries in his favor during the last election, and in response, formed their own political action committee called the American Reform Party. The only significant things they did were 1. Endorse Nader in 2000, 2004, and 2008, shifted from centrism to Tea Party conservatism, and 3. Endorsed Romney in 2012 and Trump in 2016. Meanwhile, in the 1998 midterm elections, the Reform Party elected its first and only major elected official. Jesse the Body Ventura was elected as the 38th governor of Minnesota with a whopping 37% of the popular vote. A person known for his very outspoken and strong opinions. Ventura, a person known for his...
That's funny. I included a jab at myself.
Very outspoken and strong opinions. Ventura cites the Democrats attempting to use him.
I actually did like this. Hold on. Is that episode still up? Is it privated or what? Yeah, of course it's privated. Because Joe Rogan literally privated like all of his podcasts. That's dumb. Like, I really hate that. Like, I would never do that at one point. I don't have the gall to do this. Even if I get, like, embroiled in, like, some big controversy, or if I legitimately just, like, don't want this channel to exist anymore, I'm not gonna do it. I would never delete this or mass private the videos. I would never do that. Even my old shame, like, the fanfiction connoisseur stuff. I'm gonna keep, like, that stuff is staying up forever. Because I'm of the belief of, like, every single piece of media should be wildly available for everybody to watch.
As a spoiler for the Republican candidate, as the reason he ended up winning the election, and according to the League of Women Voters,
that was a big thing. That is a thing.
Him as a spoiler for the...
I mean, you might think that I actually don't really want to talk about this race in specific. I might at one point, but like the thing is, this race is sort of like there's really not much else for this race. It was pretty obvious. Like, Skip Humphrey, right there, he wanted Jesse Ventura in the race just so he could split votes from Republicans. But as Jesse Ventura said in that Joe Rogan episode, he stole votes from Democrats too, so he just managed to push through. And he was even able to get people who never really voted, like people who were like greenbackers or other like centrist or conservative smaller parties to join in his coalition, because he really just was like a breath of fresh air for Minnesota.
The Republican candidate as the reason he ended up winning the election, and according to the League of Women Voters, the Reform Party had a bigger midterm turnout than any other third.
This one's weird. I don't get this. I get this, like, I get it's supposed to be like the square here, but it's like, why is this part not filled in? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Party, establishing it as the third party in the United States. Now on to 2000, everything is just looking so great. Everything was falling in all the right places. The party is rising above all others. Voter turnout is at an all-time high, and they got $12.5 million to pay for their general election campaign. What could possibly go wrong? How about not being able to find a candidate? The party tried to draft Governor Jesse Ventura, Congressman Ron Paul, former Congressman and presidential candidate John B. Anderson, and Ross Perot to run for the presidency, but they all declined. Perot even chose to endorse George W. Bush rather than the eventual Reform Party nominee.
Actually, I think that might be slightly incorrect. If I remember correctly, I think I can verify that right now. Like, I think what actually happened was that Ross Perot endorsed him after the primary. Hold on. In the 2000 election, Perot refused to become openly involved with the internal Reform Party dispute between supporters of Pat Buchanan and John Hagelin. Perot reportedly unhappy with what he saw as the disintegration of his party, as well as his own portrayal in the press. Thus, he chose to remain quiet. He appeared on Larry King Live 4 days before the election day and endorsed George W. Bush for president. Despite his earlier opposition to NAFTA, Perot remained largely silent about expanded use of guest worker visas in the United States, with Buchanan supporters attributing this silence to his corporate reliance on foreign workers. Okay, that's actually really interesting. I actually think that's somewhat interesting. You see, yeah, honestly, I honestly think that it is interesting to hear. I never thought about it that way. Like, Buchanan, to a degree, kind of actually did get Perot in one way. He said, like, of course Perot, a billionaire, would be doing this kind of stuff. Or I think he's a millionaire. I don't know. But I think he's a millionaire or billionaire. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Same difference, except like a couple $1 million. But the thing is, like, I do think that's interesting. And one problem I do have is that I didn't really go in depth about the ins and outs of, like, the divide, except for, like, small aspects of it. But I will do it when I inevitably do the remake one. When I redo the remake version, I think that'll be more interesting. I think it, like, honestly, it's just interesting. This probably is actually one of the most interesting ones in the history of third parties. Like, he is very perplexing to a lot of degrees, because, like, he took, as it showed on that thing, like, he took a lot of interesting positions, and, like, I mean, even now, like, if you actually look into Perot and his policies, you'll realize that even though he's, like, this billionaire, like, billionaire type, and he's, like, a southern guy, he really doesn't strike you in any sort of conservative way, aside from, like, appearance-wise, I guess. Everything else, Perot is pretty much like a, not even a lefty, like, I guess a liberal, or like a somewhat, like, he's a centrist liberal type, but definitely one that doesn't strike you as, like, a condescending one, like a principled one, I guess.
Conservative political commentator and two-time Republican candidate Pat Buchanan ran instead and quickly became the frontrunner. He, of course, had a challenge, physicist John Hagelin, who was also running for the Natural Law Party, a civil libertarian environmentalist party which based its views on transcendental meditation. Hagelin ran for this party in 1992, 1996, and, of course, 2000. Hagelin and Buchanan split the party as Buchanan wanted to
I didn't even include this. I didn't even properly cut this. I guess it's technically a good thing. I guess maybe added to the whole divide. Or maybe you could say this is the Jesse Ventura wing. I don't know.
And split the party as Buchanan wanted to add certain social issues such as a pro-life stance to the Reform Party constitution, while Hagelin simply just wanted to merge the two currently existing parties. However, Jesse Ventura was able to convince a friend of his to run for the office, Donald John Trump. Trump was seen as, by the media, the only person who was a major contender against Buchanan. Trump even had a full cabinet in line that had Congressman Charles Rangel as the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, Senator John McCain as Secretary of Defense, CEO of...
See, I find that interesting. It's like, he hates McCain. He hated McCain at the end, but he's like, love McCain here. That's one of the things about Trump that's very interesting. Like, you look at it, he's very similar to Ross Perot in some degrees. Not even... No, at this time, of course he was, but, like, really, Trump just, of course, obviously, he just licks his finger and sees where the wind blows. Back at this time, he was very, like, lefty, progressive type-ish. Not progressive, but, like, again, like, somewhat like a principled, like a popular centrist. But as he goes on, he, of course, changes a lot of things.
CEO of General...
And I actually do make one interesting tidbit, because as I looked into this, this is where it started to click for me.
Electric Jack Welch as Secretary of Treasury, General Colin Powell as Secretary of State, and even Oprah Winfrey as his choice for Vice President. However, he ended his campaign after only 4 months, explaining his problems with the party being the party's general dysfunctionality, highlighted in this quote. So the Reform Party now includes a Klansman...
Bad Trump impression, oh boy.
Mr. Duke, a neo-Nazi, Mr. Buchanan, and a communist, Miss Fulani. This is company I do not wish to keep.
Yeah, you see, this is where I think things should have made sense. Like, because, as you noticed, like, very early on in the episode, I mentioned how, like, I showed that Lenore Fulani was in a New Alliance party, but then it's like, of course, it's like, all of a sudden, it's like, wait, Lenore Fulani is a socialist feminist and became the co-chair of far-right man Pat Buchanan, and then later endorsed Hagelin. It's like, that's a lot of information that I just threw on the screen, rather than explaining what happened. And you see, I keep just, I might as well just say, obviously this one is probably, if I'm going to remake any episode, I'm probably actually 100% going to remake this one, because honestly, there's a lot more information that just very blatantly needed to be said, and very much this one, the divide between I'll just say it, the divide between the many factions of the Reform Party, because since the Reform Party, and I think this is going to be a similar thing with the Yang Party, since the Reform Party was very open in regards to its platform, like, yes, it did have some hardcore principles that they adhered to, but they were also relatively open on a lot of things. Like, they didn't really care where you stood on, like, social issues, even though the party members were used to be in full agreement. But since it wasn't explicitly written in the party constitution, of course, there were some people who wanted to come in and then not adhere to the general consensus. You see, the general consensus in the Reform Party would have been like, oh, gay people are, of course they have rights. Gay people should have the right to get married, whatever. But then, of course, since it's not in the Constitution, the Pat Buchanan can just waltz in and be like, I want to have no gays. And, like, Perot, who's like a pro-choice guy, and then Buchanan can walk in and be like, I want the party to be pro-life now. And, of course, other people just jumped into the fray as well. Like, Buchanan wanted to turn the party into a new Paleocon party. And Flora Fulani, she wanted to turn this into the New Alliance Party. The American one, not the Mexican one. And Hagelin wanted to turn it into the New Natural Law Party. Everybody came in to the party to try and take whatever they could. And Ventura did the same thing. He wanted to turn the party into a little bit of a cult of personality around him. But of course, the thing is, he doesn't want to actually do the work to do that. He wants other people to do it on his behalf. But anyways, let's just continue the video. It's just, you'll see more of it if you do your own research or when I make the new video.
Sorry about that. Around the same time, Jesse Ventura and the Minnesota wing of the Reform Party left the National Party, which later became the Independence Party of Minnesota. Buchanan eventually...
That was dumb. That was really dumb. That wording was just so stupid.
Party, which later became the
way I worded it made it seem like the National Party became the Independence Party of Minnesota. And also an interesting fact, it used to be the Independence Party of Minnesota, then it became the Reform Party of Minnesota. I didn't include any information about why he left or anything of the sort, but whatever.
Independence Party of Minnesota. Buchanan eventually won the nomination and selected Isola Foster to be his running mate. However, Hagelin and his supporters decided to take the Teddy Roosevelt route and left the room, held their own convention, and then nominated Hagelin as the Reform Party nominee. This led to some legal trouble and a court case deciding who was the real Reform Party candidate. The courts ruled in favor of Buchanan, and the election continued. Buchanan was accused of being a racist and even a Nazi, as evident by this ad.
Have signed an executive order saying that English is no longer America's national language. It's Executive Order 13166.
Thank you for calling 911. Please listen for your language. For Spanish, press 1. For Korean, press 2.
This ad is actually really stupid if you, not only for the basis of the ad, but the ad is also really stupid just because of one small thing, and you'll hear it at the end.
Do you ever miss English? Immigration is out of control. Bush and Gore are writing off English for good. What can you do? Vote for the third party that puts Americans first. Vote Buchanan for president.
For Swahili, press 12.
Did you hear that?
President.
For Swahili, press 12.
However,
he was so, like, he forgot that there's not a number 12 on a phone. That, seriously, did he forget that or something? Whatever.
However, that previous drama, lack of Perot, and Buchanan being a controversial figure as it is, led to Buchanan only getting 0.43% of the popular vote and losing all federal funds for the next election. Although one more thing that makes Buchanan's campaign interesting is that many of the talking points espoused by Buchanan, such as anti-immigration and anti-trade deals, were repeated in the 2016 election by his opponent, Donald John Trump, which leads to many people like myself to conclude that Trump stole some talking points from Buchanan, which is fine. I mean, he's allowed to do what he wants. It's his campaign.
See? See? Basically, like, he ran against Buchanan for being this far-right guy, and then Trump became the far-right guy. Like, the dude literally, again, licks his thumb and figures out where things go. Similar to Ventura in a way, but Ventura actually doesn't do anything to actually change his platform. Okay, I guess we can move on to the next part.
After Buchanan lost, he rejoined the Republican Party, and the Buchanan wing of the Reform Party left to create the American First Party,
the American First Party. I planned to make a video about them, but the thing is they actually haven't done anything. Like, I remember when I first made the channel, and I was like, oh, look at all these third parties I can make videos on. That's so amazing. And now you go to the Wikipedia page, and all those third parties are gone. The American First Party of the 2000s is gone. The American Party that split off from the American Independent Party, that's gone. Like, all these groups are gone because eventually people realized, wait, there really is not any information on them that is valid. So why do we even have them here?
Right-wing paleoconservative party. By the October 2003 National Convention, the Reform Party had only begun rebuilding, but several former state organizations had elected to rejoin the party. However, due to certain financial issues, they couldn't elect a candidate on their own and instead chose to endorse the independent candidacy of Ralph Nader for president and Peter Camejo for vice president to ensure they had...
See, this is weird. Again, the very amorphous standards of the Reform Party. They're endorsing a progressive and a socialist, when in the last election, they backed a person who was basically a borderline Nazi.
Some voice in 2004. They managed to get 0.4% of the popular vote, but as this was only an endorsement, the Reform Party's brand name didn't exactly help them win the nomination.
I think it's technically not true, because I think, to a degree, Nader was really listed as, like, he was the Reform Party candidate. Like, he would be introduced on things like, he's the Reform Party candidate. And, yeah, the Reform Party, I think, really is, it's a weird bygone era.
Endorsement, the Reform Party's brand name didn't exactly help them win the nomination. Then in 2008, Ted Weil, who was the Reform Party's ideal candidate in the 2004 election, who chose to help Ralph Nader in 2004 and even endorsed John Hagelin in 2000, became the Reform Party's nominee, and Frank McElty was selected as his running mate. McElty was also running for the New American Independent Party, now known as the Citizens Party, under the presidency rather than the vice presidency. They managed to receive 481 votes nationwide. Then, in 2012, Andre Barnett, an entrepreneur from Ohio, beat Buddy Roemer, the 52nd governor of Louisiana and previous candidate for the Republican Party's nomination, former football coach Robbie Wells, who was also a candidate for the Democratic Party in 2012, and eventually became a candidate for the Democratic Party and Independency in 2016. He's even planning out a run for 2020.
That's actually interesting. This is a weird, interesting thing about him. Like, this guy, he actually made a video dropping out and endorsing Joe Biden. That's weird. Like, that's weird. Like, this guy's like a sort of like paleoconish guy, but it's like he literally just endorsed Joe Biden after it was doing like the thing like Bernie and like all the other guys were doing. And it's like, oh, we dropped out to endorse Joe Biden. It's like, Robbie, I don't think we needed you to do that.
Independency in 2016. He's even planning out a run for 2020. 2012 candidate for the Democratic Party, Darcy Richardson, and economics professor Lawrence Kotlikoff for the Reform Party's nomination, and selected Ken Cross as his running mate. They managed to receive 962 votes nationwide, and in 2016, they chose to endorse another candidate rather than running their own, the candidate being Rocky De La Fuente of the American Delta Party, who had previously run for the Democratic nomination earlier that year. Michael Steinberg was the vice presidential candidate of...
Oh, there's one thing I should mention that this kind of bothers me. It's angular, except for the P. Why isn't the P angular? Look, watch. I'll literally fix this logo to make it better. Because it's really just so stupid that this isn't angular and the rest are.
Previously run for the Democratic nomination earlier that year. Michael Steinberg was the vice presidential candidate of the American Delta Party. They managed to receive 33,136 votes nationwide, though it was probably due to his appearance on the Free and Equal debate with Darrell Castle of the Constitution Party and Gloria La Riva of the Party of Socialism
No, it wasn't.
and Liberation.
La Riva is higher up than Castle for some reason.
In the description. And with that, we conclude the rise and fall of the Reform Party. So to all of you... Hang on, give me a second. 5,204 centrists still affiliated with the Reform Party. I hope you can get another governorship, I guess. Because, I mean, come on. You guys aren't getting another Perot. Let's be real. I mean, maybe you can. But, I mean, I hope. Thanks for watching this video.
I mean, that outro was stupid. I mean, it was kind of cool, but the whole, like, hey, how many people are still affiliated with the Reform Party? But then I dragged it out too long. Hey, they got more members. So, yeah. And here's the thing. The Reform Party, to a degree, is kind of dead. I think it's technically dead. But it's like, they're still sort of around, but they're also sort of not around. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see if the Reform Party is still around. Because the thing is, the Florida affiliate of the Reform Party, they left the Reform Party, and they're at the point where they now go... Hold on, what? Anyways, and that was a weird sidetrack that I saw. But here's the thing. Damn it, I forgot what I was talking about. Oh yeah, the Florida Reform Party. It was the only active affiliate with the Reform Party, and they chose to leave and go form an alliance with the Alliance Party. It's like weird. Anyways, my Mr. B comment, one of the most fascinating third parties. Great video, G. Gonna watch the whole series. I wish America wasn't a two-party system. Same. You had one chance to become a major established party and you blew it. 2 chances, actually. There used to be a Reform Party member in my state house last year. Max Abramson. Yeah. Lol, he was like 5 parties in a row. J-Rag's Nightmare. What a good YouTube political channel. What's this one? It's like the O meme. Oh no, I can't show this. I can't show that. This is now to get copyright infringement. Now, we can't advertise by it as like top tier dark humor, to be honest. In a way, the message is cringe, though. Yeah, I agree. Paleoconservatism is cringe. Trump is the closest thing to a Reform Party president. Ron Paul would make a great president, too. In a way, I guess, especially the Buchanan faction. Yeah, but he's not as radical as Buchanan, as much as they try to make him seem that way. He used to be a Democrat. Trump is very centrist. You can see he always was. They always try to frame him as this far-right Nazi. Trump is not very centrist. He may have begun his political career as a centrist, but he has not governed in any way close to centrism, not at all. Well, he's certainly not far-right. I mean, he is further right than a lot of U.S. presidents in the U.S. political spectrum. Can you provide me with a lot of things he did for minorities? Also, the election was not rigged. Lol, I see where you stand. It's on the channel banner. Do you think that a precedent for the Reform Party was John B. Anderson? Because I think that the most original members of the Reform Party were a mixture of John B. Anderson, Ralph Nader, Ross Perot, and Joseph Sherman. I don't know. But essentially, that's pretty much all I gotta say. It was fun going on this trip to memory lane. If you have any more episodes you might want to see me react to, well, leave them in the comments. I would prefer earlier episodes. Well, I guess you could tell we're probably going to be doing more than one episode now. Like, depending on the episodes that you want to react. Like, for example, maybe you want to see me do the, maybe you want to see me cringe at these, or whatever. Maybe you might want me to do a podcast reaction to, like, this one. Oh, that might actually be an interesting one to talk about. I don't know. But essentially, that's all I gotta say, so thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click that bell to notify that future video comes out. And if you're interested in more content from me, you can go on our website, follow me on Twitter, join my Discord, check out Lucas in the Pinnacle Report, or consider supporting me on Patreon.